If you've never tried changing your memory to improve your mindset or speed up your manifestations, then you're missing out. And stay with me because I know this sounds kooky, but let me just say this before you start to think this is ridiculous. Our memories are malleable anyway. They change with time and experience. And so you're never gonna truly remember how it happened to begin with. So by using this technique, we'll be revising our memories consciously, well, to help us get through life. For instance, let's say you had a humongous argument. Change it or delete it and pretend it never happened. The way I do this is I journal it out the way I wish it would have happened. And I write it out several times in such detail that the new way becomes embedded in my memory. And at the same time, it pulls us out of a possible spiral. Because you know, when things like this happen, you replay the argument over and over again in your mind. And sometimes you even spice it up by adding things you wish you would have said. So when this happens, your mind is basically on autopilot, doing whatever it wants. And so when you're inserting your one-liners or whatever you wish you would have said to win the argument, you're essentially trying to change your memory, but the wrong way. Because now you're just lingering in that bad experience. This worsens your mindset and just brings more bad things. Because whether you want to believe it or not, our thoughts become our reality. Now, let me give you an example of how I do this. Let's say you went out to dinner with your friend, sister, husband, wife, whatever. And during appetizers, things got heated and you had an argument, hurtful things were said, and now you're not speaking when the main course comes out. You can either delete the whole argument by recreating the scene just before the argument started. So let's say instead of starting to eat your appetizers, you actually run to the restroom first and wash your hands, and you come back and whoever you went to dinner with finished eating their appetizers, and now it's your turn, and now the main course comes out and the whole argument never happened. Let's say you want to have had the argument, then still have the argument in your memory, but just with a better outcome. So you would write this out in detail over and over again until you feel good about it and know that it won't be something that will replay over and over again in your mind. And if it starts to creep up again, get your journal or notebook or wherever you wrote this out and either write it again or read it over and over again in your mind. Be consistent with the scene so you don't have 10 different new memories floating around. Stick with the same scene so you'll see a shift in your mindset and you'll be in a better mood. Now, you probably want to know how this speeds up manifestation. You won't believe me if I told you how many times I went into my journal and opened up a page and it happened exactly the way I wrote it. So this is how it can work with manifestation. So let's say you have a weird bill or unexpected bill that showed up in your mailbox. You have no idea where it came from, but now you owe this massive amount of money and you write it down over and over again that it was sent to you by mistake or it wasn't supposed to charge you that much. However you want to write it down, be consistent, let it get embedded in your memory, and write it down with pen and paper, like in a journal. In a journal, you write it down with pen and paper, okay? Because it sits on your mind longer. Eventually, you might go back to that page and see that it happened the way you wrote it, that you called the place and they said, oh, sorry, we sent this to you by accident. Do that. And I promise you, you will go back to some of those pages and you'll see how things played out exactly the way you wrote it.